right. David offers to fight. And David said to Saul, "Let no man's heart be troubled because of Goliath. I, your servant, will go and fight with this Philistine." Saul said, "You are not able to go out to fight with this Philistine, for you are but a boy, and he has been a man of war since his youth." David said to Saul, "Your servant kept his father's sheep, and a lion came, and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. I gave chase and struck the lion down, and rescued it with his mouth. I rescued it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard and struck him and killed him. Your servant killed both the lion and the bear, and this heathen Philistine will be as one of them, seeing that he has challenged the armies of the living God. Moreover," David said, "the Lord who saved me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he will save me from the hand of this Philistine." Then Saul said to David, "Go, and the Lord be with you." Saul armed David with his armor, and he put a helmet of brass on his head, and clothed him in a coat of mail. David fastened Saul's sword upon his armor and tried to walk, in order to test the armor. But finding he could not, he said to Saul, "I cannot fight with these, for I am not used to them." Saul's piece of armor were too heavy and cumbersome, so he undid them and took them off. He took his staff in his hand, and bending down chose 5 smooth stones of the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag which he carried with him. With his sling in his hand, he drew near to the giant Philistine, who waited. Yeah, the brook. Yeah, it's like a nice little stream. Yes, it's like the brook is a beautiful stream. So triumph with the sling. The Philistine came on and drew near to David, and the shield bearer went before him. But when the Philistine looked and saw David, he despised him, for he was but a boy, fine and fair of face. The Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to fight me with sticks?" And the Philistine cursed David by the gods. And the Philistine said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field." And David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and a spear, and with a shield, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the army of Israel, whom you have challenged. This day the Lord will put you into my hands, and I will strike you down and take your head from you. And I will give your body, the bodies of the army of the Philistines, to the birds of the air and to the wild beasts of the earth, so that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone gathered here will know that the Lord saves, not with the sword and spear, but this battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." Then as the Philistine rose up and came nearer to meet David, David hurried and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. And he put his hand into his bag and took out a stone and slung it and hit the Philistine in the forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell upon the face of the earth. So David triumphed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and struck down the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in David's hand. Therefore David ran up and stood upon the Philistine, and taking Goliath's sword, cut off his head and killed him. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled, and the men of Israel arose, shouting, and pursued the Philistines all the way to the valley, to the gates of Ekron. The Philistines who were wounded fell down by the road to Shaaraim, as far as Gath and Ekron. Then the children of Israel came back from chasing the Philistines and pillaged their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem. But he put the armor on it in his own tent. And when Saul had seen David going forth against Goliath, he had said to Abner, his general Abner, "Whose son is this youth?" Abner said, "Upon my lord, O king, I do not know." The king said, "Find out who is this stripling's father." And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with Goliath's head in his hand. And Saul said, "Whose son are you, young man?" David said, "I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite." That's cool. You heard them talking about they're going to let their bodies be the food for the fowl of the air and the beasts of the field. That's like the most disrespectful thing you could do to somebody, is let them rot out there in the hot sun while the birds eat them. So they were like talking trash before they threw down. But God always wins.